How's it going, everyone? Bass here, and welcome back to my weekly series, the Mock Draft Thursday series, where every single week I do a 7-round mock draft for the Green Bay Packers. So let's get into it. So there's not really any big changes when it comes into team needs from last week. Obviously, we still don't know if Aaron Rodgers will be back. My bet is he will be, and a lot of us do think that. We're still kind of unsure on the whole Devonta Adams thing, MVS, Alan Lazard, all those guys are still technically free agents. We have to see what they do there. So the needs are the same as last week. I mean, there's a big need for defensive line regardless of where the Packers go this offseason. There's probably a need for a wide receiver in the early rounds regardless. They definitely need a vertical tight end. There's a need at tackle, at right tackle specifically with Billy Turner on the last year of his deal and getting up there in age. And then, of course, edge as well, because like I said in previous videos, I just don't believe that they're going to be able to keep both Preston Smith and Zadarius Smith. All right, so let's bring up the screen here, and we are again on the Draft Network's mock draft machine here. And in the first mock draft in 1.0, I basically didn't do any trades because I wanted the first mock draft to kind of sit how it was on paper for the Green Bay Packers and all their picks. So in this one, I will open up the opportunity to trades if they arise. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to make any, but if there are some players that fall or I don't like where I'm at when I'm picking, I will indeed trade. All right, so let's get it started and get some of these picks out of the way. Don't see myself trading into the top 10 at all, so let's let these first 5 go over them real quick. Evan Neal, one of the Jags. That's pretty much what I think is a given by this point. Hutchinson to the Lions, Hamilton to the Texans here, Thibodeau to the Jets, and Ekwono to the Giants, and we keep resuming this. Jermaine Johnson, Travon Walker, Charles Cross, Malik Willis, and Derek Stingley. So Malik Willis is the first quarterback off the board. I saw Kenny Pickett measure in pretty poorly in terms of the hand size today, so he probably will fall in this draft now just because of that. I mean, the same thing, you know, there's concerns about that with Joe Burrow. He still went first overall, but Kenny Pickett is, I don't think, on the same level, anywhere near close, Joe Burrow. But I digress. Derek Stingley goes here at 10. And on the board, we still got Sauce Gardner, Ajabo, Traylon Burks, Jameson Williams, 2 receivers that I know a lot of people like. Traylon Burks is definitely a receiver a lot of people like. I think there's a lot of wide receiver talent at the back end of this first, whether that be Drake London, Chris Olave, Jahan Dotson, even David Bell, that trading up for someone like Traylon Burks, yeah, would be, you know, awesome to have him, but I feel like there's a lot more talent in the late first to second round, so you can kind of wait for a wide receiver there. Going to go ahead and resume this. Matt Corral goes. Okay, so yeah, we got our first trade offer. This is a big one. Definitely not going to be accepting this, but pretty much it's trading up from 28 to 13. They're also giving a third, but I would have to give my second and 7th pretty much, and we'd swap thirds. Really not that bad of a deal, but to be honest, like, there's not someone here that, I mean, Traylon Burks, sure, and Trevor Penning as well, but even Andrew Booth, but we don't need a corner. But there's not someone here that I'm like, oh, I 100% want to accept that trade and go up and grab that guy. Like, I'm kind of comfortable where the Packers are at this moment, so I'm going to go ahead and decline that there and let this continue on. They draft Kenny Pickett. Okay, interesting. So Traylon Burks is still falling. Ajabo goes right after Kenny Pickett to the Browns, and we have Andrew Booth falling to the Eagles. That would be a good pick for them. Kalafdis goes to the Eagles as well right after, and then Trevor Penning to the Chargers. That's a good pick on them. Traylon Burks to the Saints, and the Eagles draft Linderbaum. I think that'd be a great little 3 picks for the Eagles there. Booth, Karlaftis, and Linderbaum. Those would be 3 really good picks for the Eagles in my opinion. Trent McDuffie out of Washington goes to the Steelers, and Nakobe Dean at 21 to the Patriots. Still got Jameson Williams here on the board. You know, he might be a receiver that could be a steal, but it would be kind of funny to see that if the Packers were to draft Jameson Williams, because probably won't be available for 2022, if so, really late, and at that point, you're already a rookie receiver. So it would kind of be, like, funny, because if they were to draft a receiver finally in the first round, he wouldn't even play this year. And then what if Aaron Rodgers left after next year, and Aaron Rodgers still wouldn't have played with a, you know, first round wide receiver really? So, I mean, Jameson Williams could be a steal. You know, if he didn't have that torn ACL, he probably would be 100% a top 10, top 12 pick, but he could fall due to the ACL torn. So He's a potential pick here at 28, but again, I just don't see anyone here that I'm like, okay, I need to trade up for. Jordan Davis and Devontae Wyatt are both here. Devin Lloyd's here, Drake London's here, Winfrey's here, Olave's here, DeMarvin Leal's here. We have a lot of guys here that are good players, even Kenyon Green here. So I think I'm gonna let this ride. I don't think I'm gonna trade right now. I could trade up. There's an offer here with the Cardinals, but it would be, you know, giving up a first and a fifth. So moving up 5 spots and giving up a fifth. I'm going to go ahead and decline that. Jameson Williams does go, and Jordan Davis and Devontae Wyatt go. So I have a few offers here. Pretty much they would just give me a 7th to move down or move up 2 spots. Interesting. This one we'd be dropping all the way down from 28 to 42, gaining a 4th and a 6th. But I'm not going to go ahead and accept any of those trade backs just yet. I'm going to look at the players here. Kenyon Green is still here. You know, he could play right tackle. He would be a good pick here for the Packers. He's probably more of a guard, but I think he could play right tackle. Again, a versatile lineman that the Packers might look into. If he did fall, Zion Johnson's here as well. He's definitely a guard. But Devin Lloyd's here and Perry and Winfrey. All 4 of these players, you know, would be a good pick here. And even Chris Olave, a lot of people like. I drafted him in my previous mock draft. Great all-around wide receiver, probably one of the best route-running wide receivers and separation guys in this draft. Not the best yak or agility guy, but still a very good wide receiver. I'm going to pass on him in this mock just because I got him last mock. That's not to say that I wouldn't love the Packers to draft him at 28. But I'm going to be looking at one of these 4 guys, I think. All right, so for this pick, I think it's really, really hard to pass up someone like Kenyon Green. He is definitely a Packers player written all over him if he were to fall here to 28. I mean, he could play both guard positions. He can play right tackle. He could play left tackle. He sounds like another player on the Packers offensive line in Elgton Jenkins, and he was elite this last year for Texas A&M. You know, Elgton Jenkins, torn ACL. We don't know when he's going to be back. David Bakhtiari, you know, should have played late last year. Played 3 drives in Detroit. Never returned. Billy Turner, getting older. I think he's about 31 on the last year of his deal. Now, the inside of the Packers' offensive line is younger. You know, Josh Myers, John Runyon, and Royce Newman. And then if you have someone like Elgton Jenkins, they could potentially, you know, they could play left tackle. You know, I think Kenyon Green is either a future at, you know, one of the guard spots or right tackle. No matter what, he's an elite lineman. And getting him at 28, I think, would be a steal. And I think the Packers could plug him in at a tackle or guard wherever they need. Obviously, we know having good offensive line depth is a must to protect 12 and whoever is back there. So I'm going to go ahead and pick 28. I'm going to draft Kenyon Green out of Texas A&M. And I really do feel like this would kind of be a Packers pick. You know, there'd be a few other guys on the board that a lot of people like, maybe Winfrey, Devin Lloyd, Olave, Jahan Dotson, David Bell. I think these are guys a lot of people be like, oh, they're there, grab them, and then they draft someone like Kenyon Green. I mean, Kenyon Green, though, is a beast. Him at 28, I think, would be a steal for the Green Bay Packers. I don't think he'll fall that far, but we'll continue this list, and obviously Raymond as well would be surely another guy that they could draft here at 28, but I like Kenyon Green a little bit better. Chris Olave, Devin Lloyd, Raymond, Jahan Dotson, and Cameron Thomas go. So again, there is a possibility to maybe trade up for someone, but there's good depth down here right around where they pick. Again, Christian Watson out of North Dakota State. I know it's a receiver a lot of guys like, so he might be a selection there at number 2, but we'll let this ride for right now and resume it. And Daxon Hill goes, Daniel Falele. I really like Daniel Falele. Zion Johnson, Kyler Gordon, Jaquan Brisker, David Bell, Perrin Winfrey, DeMarvin Leal. Christian Harris is still up here. Bo Mafe, another edge guy I like. Logan Hall. Sam Howell still up here. George Pickens. You know, he just met with the Packers the other day. He has some character issues, it seems, but if the player's good, you know, you take him. I mean, look at Tyreek Hill. But resume this draft. Pickens goes the next pick anyways. Christian Watson goes. Would have loved to get him here at 59. I think that's kind of would be a dream, but obviously that's not going to happen in this mock drafts. So I think I'm just going to let this ride. Yeah, I'm just going to let this ride, and then we'll see who's on the board here. All right, so there is a lot of players I do like here. Isaiah Likely, Trey McBride. I grabbed Trey McBride in my last mock draft. John Mechie here. Again, another receiver that got hurt, but a good receiver. And, you know, he would be a good receiver for the Packers. But again, you know, when would he be able to play? Sky Moore, receiver I really like. He was just in the video I posted about the 5 wide receiver prospects the Packers should look into. And you can go click the link right above if you want to go watch that. Sky Moore, very shifty, very, very versatile receiver that, you know, a yak guy that would flourish in the Matt LaFleur offense, in my opinion. We have Josh Pascal here, Sanders, Drake Jackson, a few tight ends here down here, and Weidermeyer and Ruckert. A lot of players here. We have Wan'Dale Robinson from Kentucky, Nick Benito. It's honestly kind of like looking like a trade down situation, so I'm going to see if I can get more value by trading down here. All right, so I am indeed going to try to trade down. I think there's a lot of value in these next 10 picks, and trading down from 59 to 68, picking up an extra 4th rounder, and only giving up a 7th to have the Texans jump up to 59. Send this offer and see what they say, and they have accepted it. So if we go back, I'm going to pause it because I need to see the picks here. Sky Moore does get drafted. Receiver I really did want, but, you know, it's fine. There's still other guys on here. John Mechie at receiver, Calvin Austin from Memphis, and Wan'Dale Robinson from Kentucky. Kyle Phillips here. There's a lot of receivers. Jalen Tolbert from South Alabama. A lot of good receivers here that I could select with pick 68, but there's also other positions that are surely draftable here. So Likely goes Asamoah, and then now is our pick. So on the board, we still have Trey McBride, John Mechie, Josh Pascal, Sanders, Calvin Austin, Drake Jackson, Ruckert, Otten, Weidermeyer, Nick Benito, Wan'Dale Robinson. Still a lot of good players here. All right, so with this pick, I am going to go wide receiver, and I'm going to be going Wan'Dale Robinson out of Kentucky. 5'11", 185, so a little bit shorter than what the Packers tend to draft. But this dude would be a beast in the Packers offense. I mean, they use him in the screen game. They use him as a deep threat. He could be your day 1 slot receiver if Randall Cobb isn't there, which I don't think he will be unless he takes a pay cut. You could draft someone like Nick Benito or Drake Jackson here, or even Sanders at edge. But I think getting a receiver here with the unknown, I mean, obviously the draft isn't today. And obviously the Packers will know exactly who and who isn't the receivers come draft day, so this whole evaluation may change. But as of right now, as it sits, I think there is a need for wide receiver. And even if they were to just bring back Devontae Adams and lose MVS, I think there's still obviously a need at wide receiver. Wan'Dale Robinson, like I said, would be a very fun player in the Matt LaFleur offense. So with this pick, the trade down to pick 68 in round 3, I am going to draft Wan'Dale Robinson out of Kentucky. All right, so it is our pick again here at pick 92 in the 3rd round. And some players at the top of the board, Leo Chanel out of Wisconsin. I do believe the Packers will get Devondre Campbell back into the building for next year on the Packers defense. So Leo Chanel, good player. Wisconsin bias kind of leaking through a little bit. But last mock draft, we did draft Nick Benito. And a couple people pointed out his size difference, 6'2", 231, really small edge. Not typically the type of edge players the Packers draft, and I agree. Jake Ferguson's here, JoJo Doman. Going down a bit, there is edge rusher Tyreek Smith out of Ohio State, who is grabbing my attention here. I think the Packers 100% have a need at edge. He's 6'4", 265. He was the best edge rusher on Ohio State's defense last year. He has a very high ceiling, so you can start him out as a rotational edge rusher, and he could develop into a very good edge rusher in this league. That's why I'm going to draft him with this pick here at 92. Like I said, I think the Packers have a big need at edge rusher. I do believe, and I've said this many, many times, that Preston Smith will get an extension, but Zadarius Smith will be cut. Preston Smith's getting older too. Obviously, Rashawn Gary's Rashawn Gary. Dude balled out last year. So Tyreek Smith would kind of be that rotational edge guy in the future to take over for Preston Smith. So with this pick, I'm going Tyreek Smith out of Ohio State edge. All right, so now because of the trades we made, we have 3 picks really close together here. 130, 135, and 139. And one of which I think we 100%, or at least 2 maybe, need to spend on defensive linemen. I would have liked to address this earlier. but other players fell where I liked them, and, you know, that just happened. So, Tito Ogbonnia is a player here from UCLA. He can play 0 tech or the 5 tech. Good against the run, which I think the Packers need to draft a couple defensive linemen that are good against the run. Not the best as a pass rusher, but, you know, shows some skill there. So with this pick, he's 6'3 and a half, 326 pounds, senior from UCLA. We're going to Tito Ogbonnia with pick 130. And then if we let this ride until our next pick here, and we'll see who's on the board. All right, so with this pick at 135, I'm looking at a safety, and that is Dane Belton. He's kind of your hybrid linebacker / strong safety type of role, your third safety, which I think the Packers desperately need. Henry Black just was not it last year. Vernon Scott was like never active, and I think they do need a third safety desperately. Someone who can come in, you know, third downs or run downs. This guy is good against the run. He even had 5 interceptions in 2021 for Iowa. Just a really versatile safety that I think would be really good in the Joe Barry defense. You could throw him down there, like I said, on third downs to cover up a tight end, or even on second downs to stop the run on first down. You know, he could play nickel corner. You could really put him anywhere. So with this pick at 135, I'm going to draft Dane Belton out of Iowa. All right, so with pick 139 here, I think I'm going to go wide receiver again, and that is Romeo Doubs. He was also in my video I just posted yesterday, the 5 wide receivers prospects for the Packers. And he's 6'2", 200 pounds, so a little bit lanky, but if you look at his film, he's a very good boundary receiver. He could be an outside receiver. He even played a little bit of punt return at Nevada. So there's obviously an open competition there for the Packers. Could 100% end up starting at punt return. But obviously I drafted Wan'Dale Robinson, who's more that shifty slot, smaller receiver. So I think the Packers would 100% also draft kind of the outside role type of wide receiver in this draft as well. So with this pick, I'm going to go Romeo Doubs out of Nevada. All right, so if you're here at pick 170 in the 5th round, I think I'm going to go for another defensive lineman, interior defensive lineman. These are the picks where you can start to load up on depth in positions you 100% need it, which definitely is interior defensive line. And that's with Thomas Booker out of Stanford. Again, just another very versatile defensive lineman. Good against the run and the pass. Just overall a solid defensive lineman here out of Stanford, and can line up pretty much anywhere on the defensive line. So with this pick, I'm going Thomas Booker, interior defensive lineman out of Stanford. All right, so for this last pick in the 7th round, what I think the Packers should be doing is looking at special teams players, even in the 6th round. I mean, hell, even in the 5th round. So with this pick, I'm looking at ZONOVAN Knight out of NC State. Now you might be thinking, hey, they don't need a running back. Why would they draft a running back? Well, this is the 7th round, so you need to get some special teams players. And what he is a day 1 kick returner. You know, 31 yards per attempt, 3 touchdowns in college at kick return. You know, he's not going to get on offense, really. I mean, with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon and Kylan Hill. But I think the Packers have a desperate need for a returner. And getting one in the 7th round who's pretty good at college in ZONOVAN Knight, that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. So for the last pick in this mock draft, I will be drafting ZONOVAN Knight out of NC State. All right, so that does it for my picks for the Green Bay Packers 7-round mock draft 2.0. So let's go over them really quickly. At pick 28, I went Kenyon Green. Now, I don't think he'll be here at 28. I would love him if he fell to 28. I think he's a versatile lineman, which the Packers love. We know this. They love guys that can play guard, can play tackle. He can play both well, and he's an elite guard out of Texas A&M, elite tackle. He can pretty much be any position on the offensive line you need him to be. And there's a lot of uncertainty on the Packers offensive line, you know, especially with Elton Jenkins' injury, David Bakhtiari's injury, Billy Turner's last year of his deal, and his age. So I think the Packers will draft an offensive lineman early. I think a lot of people will be like, oh, they don't need one. Why are they drafting an offensive lineman in the 1st round? But if someone like Kenyon Green falls at 28, would not be mad at all. At pick 68, we did trade down a little bit. I did trade down and select Wan'Dale Robinson, kind of a slot receiver, shifty, 5'11", 185-pound receiver. Would be a blast in the Matt LaFleur offense, in my opinion. So I love that pick there. Pick 92, Tyreek Smith, a very versatile edge rusher, kind of rotational guy that could end up being your starter at edge out of Ohio State. He was their best edge rusher at Ohio State, 6'4", 265. And obviously, like I said, there's uncertainty at edge with, you know, Z and Preston. Obviously, you know, we have Rashawn Gary. He will be one of our edge rushers for years to come. But Tyreek Smith could potentially be one of our edge rushers for year to come after Preston Smith, you know, we move on from him. I think he will get an extension, but after that. At 130, we start to draft interior defensive lineman Tito Ogbonnia. Again, just another versatile guy. I think the the scheme of this draft was kind of getting versatile players that can kind of do it all. And Ogbonnia is more of a run stopper than a pass rusher, but he can play the 0 tech or the 5 tech. So I think the Packers need to draft 2 interior defensive linemen in this draft, so Ogbonnia one of them. And then at 135, I like this pick. Again, just versatile players. Dane Belton can play that linebacker hybrid, safety hybrid on passing downs, on run downs. Good against the run. 5 interceptions in 2021. 6'1", 205, a little light for that role, but he does it well. So Dane Belton there at 135. Romeo Dubes, a wide receiver out of Nevada, which was in my previous video I made, at 139. Tall, lanky, 6'2", 200 pounds. Works the boundary, works the sideline really well. Pretty good in contested catches. He could get a little bit better in route running, but overall, strong hands, can even punt return. He punt returned at Nevada a little bit. So Romeo Dubes there at 139. And then at 170, Thomas Booker. Again, just another versatile interior defensive lineman, 6'3", 310. He can, disrupt plays from the run perspective and the pass perspective. A developmental interior defensive lineman that could, be a sub in certain scenarios. And then finally, with our last pick at 246, focused on special teams with ZONOVAN Knight here. You're not going to see any offensive snaps next year at all, but still a decent running back. But what I liked about him, kick returner, averaged 31 yards per attempt and 3 touchdowns in college. So getting a pure returner there would be a plus. So that's why I drafted ZONOVAN Knight at 246. So that about does it for my 2.0 mock drafts for the Green Bay Packers. Now, obviously, I did do some trades here. And also, when I see players on the board that I previously drafted, say last week I drafted Chris Olave. He was still on the board at pick 1. Definitely a player on the board for the Packers. They met with him yesterday. So definitely on the board and could be chosen at pick 28. But I didn't want to keep doing the same thing over and over again. Trey McBride was also there in my second round pick, which I picked last week as well. So kind of change it up here. And I think this week's theme, like I said, was kind of versatility. I drafted a lot of versatile players that can play multiple positions. So I think that's always what the Packers do like. So I think in that regard, I think I did well. But I want to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. Do you like this draft? Which players do you like out of here? Which players you're like, hey, I don't like those players. They don't really fit the Packers. Comment that down below. I'd love to have a conversation with you guys. But on that note, I'll catch you all in the next one. And as always, go Pack Go.